Thank you so much for joining me today. It's Camilla Carter, your Startle coach, and I'm so happy to teach you one of my favorite topics, etiquette. Now don't worry kids, this is not going to be some boring class where I give you a list of rules that you have to follow or else. Actually, etiquette is something that's really fun and it puts a smile on everybody's face. So, are you ready to learn about etiquette? Have you ever noticed that if you smile at somebody, they just automatically smile back at you? Or if you're in a waiting room or on a bus and an old person gets on and somebody stands up and gives that person their seat, then somebody else is more likely to do the same. But I bet you also remember how when there's a jar of candy and one kid starts grabbing all the candy, then everybody else starts grabbing all the candy. Or if somebody takes something of yours without asking, doesn't feel very good, right? Not very nice. You see, the way we treat each other is contagious. Just like when you get a bad cold at school, it goes around just as all those germs are contagious. So is the way we treat each other. Courtesy and being respectful of other people is contagious. And that's the great thing about practicing etiquette. When you practice etiquette, I think you're going to notice that your parents, your teachers, will start to give you more responsibility and trust. Maybe even some extra perks like staying up a few hours later or extra ice cream. I always go for cake, so I'd want a piece of cake. All right, so what we're going to do in today's lesson is I'm going to teach you the definition of etiquette, what it is, what it isn't, why it's important, and then we're going to learn how to make a proper introduction. And that's so no one ever feels left out or not important. Etiquette is a code of behavior based on thoughtfulness to others. It's not about being snobby or thinking that you're better than other people or being uppity. It's not like that at all. In fact, that's rude. And by the way, rude is a 4-letter word. What etiquette does is it taps in to our core human need to be acknowledged, to feel important, to be recognized. Everybody wants to feel important and acknowledged, and that's what etiquette does. Pop quiz. Just kidding. Raise your hand if you know who the first president of the United States was. We have a lot of hands up in the air. Okay, good. George Washington, at 16 years old, this is pretty impressive, sat down and wrote a code of civility. Basically, he wrote down a list of all the things that he considered etiquette and how important it was. A lot of people say that George Washington was elected our first president simply because he had such great etiquette skill. So if you practice etiquette, you're likely to find yourself in the same position that George Washington did, in a leadership position. You'll also find yourself in leadership positions like captain of the football team, or the softball team, or the baseball team. You'll also find yourself getting elected to student council positions, and just overall being considered a great friend. That's what happens when you practice etiquette, a code of behavior based on thoughtfulness to others. The other great thing is you'll gain self-respect and self-confidence, and you'll also know what to do in any social situation. You know how sometimes you're like, I don't know whether I should put the fork on the left or to the right. I don't know whether I should shake that person's hand. Should I make an introduction even if I forgot that person's name, or should I just stand here and keep talking? Well, you're going to learn all that coming up. Are you ready? So here's how you're going to make a proper introduction. The person who receives the introduction, the person who is considered the more important person in the introduction, is the person who is the older person or the person who has seniority. The second is the person who has social prominence or importance. And the third is the woman. So, say you're introducing your mom to the President of the United States and it's President Obama. Well, your mom is a woman, but President Obama has social importance. Well, You see your mom every day, pretty much on a regular basis, so let's just say it makes sense that the president is the person with the social importance and the person who's going to receive the introduction in this case. So what you're going to do is you're always going to look at the person who's receiving the introduction. That's the person who has social importance, the person who has seniority, or the woman. So you look at them first and you say, Mr. President, I'd like to introduce my mom. And since it's a formal introduction, you're going to say her full name, Mrs. Vasquez. So once again, Mr. President, I'd like to introduce my mom, Mrs. Vasquez. Mom, this is the President of the United States. Pretty cool, huh? Say you're introducing your dad to the school principal. In this case, I would say that the school principal is the one that has the social importance in the situation. So you would look at the school principal first, and then you would say, Mr. or Mrs. or Principal Adler, I'd like you to meet my dad, Mr. Rodriguez. Then you'd say, Dad, this is Principal Adler. The introduction's made. You're done. Easy. Then it's time for them to chat or talk. In formal occasions or at bat or bar mitzvahs, quinceañeras, sweet 16s, birthday parties, events at the school, I would say it's always best as a rule of thumb to use someone's first and last name. The best way to learn something is, as soon as you learn it, to go ahead and practice it or put it into practice. Repetition is the key to mastery, so practice, practice, practice. And also to teach someone else. So what you could do is you could teach your little sister or your older brother, or you could even go and teach your parents how to make a proper introduction. So go ahead and do that.
So let's do a short review of today's lesson with the help of animated Camilla Carter.